Emptiness? Even the word itself needs filling. Nothing is truly empty, except the inescapable voids existing between the superclusters. Those were the places I desperately wanted to avoid but became unfortunately trapped inside. My name is Lucas Nolt, and I was an explorer once. That means I would independently whiz in and out of galaxies and solar systems, finding new places to research. I would then hop back into my ship to report back on my discoveries. My ship was small, light, but durable. It had no robots on board whatsoever, only the basic AI. Often I would fly in silence in my metallic dragonfly since the AI would constantly be making unwanted noises like asking me pointless questions. I knew the dangers of flying through space, but that didn't stop me. I couldn't leave this life of adventure, knowing that around every corner, there were gigantic balls of exploding energy, chaotic flying rocks, and smoke-filled hurricanes. Life, I thought, was everywhere in the universe. But I was wrong. So, very wrong. Everything started going wrong when I activated my warp drive, and an oncoming asteroid smashed into the right side of my ship. It hit underneath the wing where the engine resided as I bolted through space. The impact knocked me off course, causing all of the alarms in my ship to go off. I tried to get a grip on the controls, but it was too much. Unable to control it, I held myself back from panicking. After a few minutes of circling disabled, I got back the controls. Finally, I was stationary. The relief of my stability was short-lived when I saw my surroundings. I adjusted my eyes to view the outside of my cockpit, but there was no point. All I could see was nothing but complete darkness, stranded in a void of blackness. Help was the first thing that came to mind, so I fumbled over trying to call any nearby planets. Nothing, not one was able to receive my transmission. Why scream if I knew no one could hear me? Food and water were the things I started to worry about next. Scrummaging through my cockpit, I found 3 space bars, glorified cereal bars, to be specific, and 1 liter of bottled water. Oh shit. I thought. How much fuel do I have left? I directed my eyes to the fuel gauge. I had 3/4 of a tank left. I let out a sigh of relief. Great, now all I had to do was activate my warp drive, and I would be out of the void. I pushed the warp drive switch forward on my dashboard. Nothing. Fuck. It must have got damaged when the asteroid hit me. I pulled it back and tried again. Still nothing. Shit. Again and again, I tried as sweat poured down from my forehead. Out of frustration, I threw the switch and slouched back into my chair. I glared at the fuel gauge, knowing that once it did fail, I would plummet even deeper into the darkness like a raindrop falling from a cloud. I knew the gods of darkness were grinning at me, waiting for me to fall into their hands, never to see the light again. I wanted someone to find me. No, I needed someone to save me. My ship was slowly turning into a place I loved to be in, to a tight, empty box filled with nothing but a ticking clock. But as I stared into the abyss, my eyelids began to droop. I struggled to make myself comfortable as I slept in the cockpit. It was like torture. My movements were near non-existent since my chair acted like a straitjacket. I opened my eyes, even though they felt heavy from sleep. So I fluttered them a couple of times to give them a chance to adjust to the lack of lighting since there was only a dim flicking light in the corner of the cockpit. Or so I thought. In the distance, I saw a bit of floating debris bobbing up and down in the nothingness like a bouncing balloon. However, since it was difficult to make out, from one angle it looked like another ship. But from another, it looked like an asteroid. Whatever it was, I knew if I could land on it, I could get out and be able to repair my warp drive. Thinking of the warp drive, I tried the switch again just in case, but it was unrepairable. Even so, without another thought, I shifted my ship's engine into gear and moved forward, closer to hope. As I approached the debris, it somehow seemed to always be in the same position as it was moments ago. In confusion, I decided to rub my eyes then shake my head. I opened my eyes, and to my surprise, it was gone. Immediately I stopped the ship. Oh God, where is it? Was I hallucinating? How much fuel did I use up? Would I be able to escape now? All of those questions rushed through me like a cold shiver. I glanced back at the fuel gauge and noticed I had a quarter of a tank left. But what I really saw was my life clock counting down the inevitable. I knew that in a few minutes, I wouldn't be able to use the warp drive anymore, and I would plummet into the eternal void. Forever alone and forgotten. Please, can somebody help me? I whispered as I looked down in defeat. Suddenly, I heard a beeping sound. I dragged my head upwards to look at the screen in front of me. It read, "Would you like the AI to answer that question?" I sank in my seat. My arm shook like a shitting dog as I tapped yes on the screen. The words on the screen disappeared. "Help me get out of the void," I said, stumbling over every syllable. "Sorry, can you repeat that?" The air responded in its classic one-noted tone. Trying to suppress my anger, I repeated clearly, "Can you help me get out of this void?" "Yes, where would you like to go?" "Anywhere." "Would you like me to activate the warp drive?" "Yes, yes. Do it." "To activate the warp drive, please say the password." Shit. I had no idea. I sat back in my seat, puzzled at the thought of what the password might be. Out of the void, a word popped into my brain, something that I would have previously called the AI, but now at that very moment, would have been the last thing. "Useless," I finally said, causing my ship's engines to burst with life. Within an instant, my ship shot me out of the black void. And into the vast universe of light. The journey to the next planet was over within a matter of minutes. I sat there, unsure what to feel as I looked at the small Earth-like planet in front of me. I glanced over at the center of the solar system to the star giving life to this planet. On the inside, I felt like the place I had just left, empty. Not knowing what to do next, I just sat there in the ship, hovering just above the atmosphere of the planet. After some time passed, I turned to my display, then delightedly said, "Change password."